But anyway, to add on, it's just like it's just like, yeah, you might not like me because you can't use me, my body and my energy, casually, but you don't have to like me because of that, but you will respect me, you know? Because I know in a sense, like soon as you kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Soon as you kind of like mess up or get too comfortable, that's when the disrespect happens because they intended on disrespecting you. And as I was saying before, to touch on, on the first video, right? It's just like just to like, it's either like one of those reasons why, in a sense, why knowing that I'm not physically their type, right? In a sense, not what they will usually go for, right? But it's either one of those things because you haven't touched me yet, and also because you fetishize the fact that I'm a black white girl, and you think there's like this fantasy, or there's like a mystery behind it, right? You just want to find out what's going on, you know and basically, like, because of that, so basically, like, what that kind of registers in my mind is the fact that, like, oh, so because of the fact you want me because you haven't had me yet, so you just want to have sex with me just to basically stain me, to like basically, like, in a sense, like, just mark me, if that makes any sense. But yet they say that, penis is valuable, but it's like the way that they describe it in terms of, like, in these dynamics with women, right? It makes it seems like that the more that you have sex with them, the more it diminishes your value, if that makes any sense. I don't know. And the language that they use in terms of, like, that's like, mark territory, and stuff like that. It makes it seems like to them it's only to dominate and to also mark you, or to also stain you, you know, to rid you of any purity, if that makes any sense. That you have if they feel that you if they think that you, in a sense, if they perceive you to be innocent, if they perceive you to be pure, if they perceive you to be kind of like on your high horse, because in a sense like that, it's like they use their phallus to diminish you, and you have to be careful. You have to be careful. This is not being divisive, but in the way that language is used these days when it comes to sexual relations between man and woman, it's like the phallus is, the penis is like a sword, and it's, you know, if there's like basically, like, if they can't get you in any way, whether it's physically, right? If they can't get to you, like, by hitting you or whatever it is, they're gonna try to bring you down a peg sexually, and that's by marking you or staining you. Those who know, you know, and you have to be very, very careful. Very, very careful. You know, and I feel like in a sense it's better to kind of keep them at arm's length and to just observe how it is that they handle other, their relationships with women. Just observe, and that should tell you everything about how they're going to treat you, regardless if you appear, innocent and, and pure like me, regardless if, you know whether you appear as a good girl or not. If they intend on disrespecting you, or if they intend on diminishing you, the the intentions, you know, their basically their perception of you isn't uh the perception of you, basically like how they see women on a larger scale collectively isn't going to change because of the fact that you appear as a good girl. Whether you are a good girl, whether you have a heart of gold, it doesn't matter because of how they see women collectively. If they use and abuse and, use and abuse women, right? If they are if they are coming from a place of brokenness, you think a good girl as yourself, right, is going to change that if you have sex with him? If you have sex with him? No, it's not. It's not, and that's the gag. But that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that, because the whole thing is, the whole setup is for you to lose. I want you guys to win. And this is from basically like my observations and what I have experienced and what I have learned. These movies and stuff been lying to you. These movies and stuff are a myth. You think that as good of a girl as I am, and with a heart of gold and stuff, you think sleeping with him is just going to change, it's going to change that. The only reason why he's like, in a sense, because of the fact that you're not having sex with you, he's just basically tolerating you. He's just tolerating you until, and much more likely they're waiting on you to mess up. Whether it's like you probably get too drunk and you think it's safe to be with him that way. Whether you think that, whether you get, tipsy or whatnot, and you think you guys have an understanding of each other, and it's like, no, he's not being respectful because you didn't sleep with him. He's just tolerating you, and he's waiting on you to mess up. He's waiting on you to mess up. He's waiting on you to get too comfortable and mess up at some point, you know but this is what I'm telling y'all. But they'll get mad at me, but I'm going to tell you guys this because I care, and because I know. you know don't ever think to a point where, never get too comfortable kind of just thinking that they have respect for you. you know if that's the case, they're just tolerating you and just waiting until you kind of have your guard down to think that they're safe to engage in that way with. And that's where the trap is. That's where the trap is. But yes, I affirm that as a black white girl, I am not an experience. I am not an experience to be had. I'm not something for the sake of. I am not a fantasy. And you know, I'm not a fantasy. I will not be used for the sake of casualty, and I won't let you use me just for a pure sake of the fact that I give an air of novelty to you. You know what I'm saying? And also, what I also wanted to touch on, give me a second to recollect my thoughts. Hold on. What was I going to say? Okay. So, what I wanted to also touch on is just like, give me a second. I was just right there. Oh, okay. Like, basically, what I really want to touch on before I forget again is the fact that, like, God, my memory is kind of shot right now. Give me a second right now. I gotta write it down. Give me a second, okay? So, basically, like, when people pretty much show me that, in a sense, they don't have any intentions on actually caring about me anyway, and I can tell, and I would tell just by, just being my authentic self, because for me, I've I've always liked it alternative rock, I always liked it like Three Doors Down, and like stuff like All American Rejects and stuff like that, punk, just rock in general. I always liked it that. I always loved it rock, but I pretty much broadened my horizons to listening to just everything, but my guilty pleasure is like alternative rock, right? Dad rock, basically. Um, but one way I would just kind of like see in that case is, just paying attention to the details, and I will notice that, like, and also, like, I would just go off script, but because I know in a sense of how it is that I'm being perceived because of the way that I present myself, which is just like somebody that's like, even if sometimes I dress a little rogue, right, I still give like this air of like innocence, right? But, and and people, men, they fetishize that too, right? But if I'm basically going off script just by being my authentic self, because I am not a fantasy, right? My real self is just the opposite of it, and that's just, even though I'm being so innocent and pure, right? I play, I play All American Rejects or something, right? I play Smash Mouth even, or like, Vanessa Carlton, right? And I'm not, and I'm not so like accommodating, when they're in my space. I pretty much, entertain myself the way that I want to, right? And if in a sense it's like, if you're just there waiting, waiting for me to like basically like be vulnerable or just not engaging with me, in that aspect, then it's just like you're not really trying to get to know me, because I'm also like very like, interactive too, and very social, right? And it's just like, you know even though I'm being like an individual and stuff, I'm still trying to involve you. I'm still trying to, you know try to engage with you, and while also doing the things that I love. And if you're not trying to be a part of that, then that really registers as me not as registers as you not trying to genuinely get to know me. It's just you just waiting until I basically get tired or vulnerable so you can screw me. And because I sniffed that out, guess what? I basically end up trolling you by going off script, which is being my authentic self. And either way, it's a win-win, because I'm trolling you, but I'm still like being myself, if that makes sense. But to them, they would think that I'm playing games, but it's like, you don't intend on genuinely get to know me anyway. So that means you'll be wasting my time, and because of that, I will be wasting my time. No, because of that, I'll be wasting your time. You know. And it's like, how they always say, like, what's the point of being around a woman, or, doing this and that, or being a decent human being to a woman if she's not sexually available? And it's like, well, what's the point? What's the point of being around y'all if, if you're not adding financially, but just as much, emotionally and mentally, you know, just as much as not, just as being also like compatible, because a lot of y'all is just boring. I find myself like, when most like 27 years of my life, what I'm saying, it's like I would be bored with them a lot. It just, I never found one that really actually like interested me and was actually interesting, if that makes any sense. They was just, there. And it's just like, I'm basically dating myself. And if that's the case, I'm like, I could have just been being with myself, It's just like, you're just here. Like, it just don't make any sense. Like, you don't want to add anything, but it's like you want, what I'm saying, you just, not the fact is use my body, but it's like, you're not adding anything, but you want me to just do all this physical and emotional labor, and it's just like, there is no trade-off to that. But it's like, you want me to do all of this, but it's like, you're not engaging, you know. You want to cruise on me, but you're not trying to bat a boat, if that makes any sense. And even if you did buy the boat, it's just like, you gotta maintain it. What are you doing? What are you also doing on your end to maintain, to keep the boat working? To keep it afloat, to keep things afloat. Because, it takes two, but I'm like, I'd be damned if, no, like, So, it's just one way that I just kind of like sniff it out. One way that I just see through it is just basically being my actual self, going off script. Like, yeah, I'm the black white girl, but you know what I'm saying, I'm not this, I'm not going to play into your sexual fantasy. But because I'm a real person, and I'm actually being a real person with, her own interest and, her own opinions and stuff like that, I'm going to go off script. But they see that as playing games, because you're not playing into their sexual fantasy. And I think that's what, basically, like, because of porn and all these, and all these categories and stuff like that, that's how they categorize women. That's how they categorize women, in these sexual categories. So when you kind of go off script and you don't subscribe to it, they think you're playing games. No, you're playing games because you gave me the implication that you wanted to get to know me. So who's really playing games? Think about it. But I hope that this video is a lot more clearer and you can see it and stuff like that. I have to start recording them a lot more because the connection was kind of messed up now. But the video quality will be a lot better, starting this Monday. So, the truth will set us free, but it will piss everybody else off at first. But they will understand. They will get it. And those who know. And the last thing that I'm going to say is, don't let this patriarchal system gaslight you out of your panties. Good night.